think the problem pretty much stems with the value of the camera. While the A1 is a phenomenal camera, it starts to lose its value extremely fast. And while I don't like to lean on electronics to hold their value over time, because we know 6 months to a year down the line, something else new is gonna come out, and whatever you bought, the specs, the features, the functions, everything will be somewhat outdated as time goes on. It still was like a slap in the face, because you invest so much money into a camera only to find out that the company, Sony, refused to put out firmware updates to update or upgrade the features in the camera. Yet they come out with other cameras such as the Sony a7 IV, which is a fabulous camera, the Sony a7 R5, which to me rivals the Sony A1 in so many different ways. It just wasn't the best investment. It wasn't the best investment. And so as I'm starting to see the used market and an increase in Sony A1s all around the used market, the black market, I was growing increasingly frustrated because I knew I had a wonderful camera, but I couldn't quite justify the price given the fact that the Sony a7 IV was a little over $2,000, which checked a lot of boxes for essentially what I would need at the base level. And the Sony a7 R5, which honestly was a better camera for me. The A1, I shot multiple weddings. I got some beautiful, stunning, just all around gorgeous images to come out of the camera. Whether it was photo, whether it was video, it never disappointed. The autofocus was extremely fast. And I think the thing with the A1 is, due to the fact that Sony refused to provide firmware updates and upgrades for this camera, for the software in this camera, it's just very disappointing. It's very disappointing, and I knew that once the Sony a7 R5 was announced, and I saw all the specs and the features, I'm like, they're not going to upgrade or provide firmware updates for the A1. So I'm selling this today. I've already sold it. It just needs to be shipped. It's very unfortunate. I cannot recommend this camera at its retail price because I feel like there's so many other options that is just a better deal. I do feel as though most people will be satisfied with the Sony a7 IV. I think it's just because if you're doing events, if you're doing portraits, if you're doing weddings, if you are doing, anything in that genre of photography, the a7 IV is a much better deal. If you do portraits and you do a lot of work that requires, a lot of megapixels, while also being a hybrid photographer, the a7 R5 will be best suited for you. And that doesn't mean that the a7 R5 isn't good for events or weddings or anything in that category. It really is, but especially if you need the megapixels and you want a more than capable video camera because you do, whether it's commercial work, corporate work, and you need the best of the best stabilization in a camera, then the a7 R5 is it. Then the A1 is tricky now. It really is, because it has the megapixels such as the a7 R5. It doesn't have the flip screen and tilt screen combination. And there are some small differences. It is still the fastest mirrorless camera in the world. But who needs that type of speed? Who needs the speed of the A1? If you're doing weddings, if you're doing, just regular events, portraits, you don't need that speed. You don't. But if you are doing Olympic racing, sports, NASCAR, anything of that sort, nature, birds, then the A1 will make the most sense. Like I said, because it does everything, it's easy to say this for everyone, but it's not quite because of the price. And I can put this next to the a7 IV and the a7 R5, and the value of this camera drops tremendously, at least in my opinion. One of the features that I think really stands out about the A1 is just the fast autofocus. It's very fast at catching focus, locking in on a subject, and once you hit that shutter button down, you can take a number of photos very, very quick. It is, like I said, the fastest mirrorless camera in the world, and like I said earlier, quite essentially one of the best cameras ever made. But because of the price, it's not the best value. All in all, thank you all for watching the video, and if you liked the video, then go ahead and like the video. Don't forget to sub and show some love to the channel. I can't wait to hit you all with a plethora of new videos in the coming weeks, so until next time, I will catch you in the next video.